Communication during COVID-19, challenges and opportunities. Today, the PR world is experiencing change in some of the most extraordinary ways yet. Commitments to employee engagement, purposeful leadership, and reaching consumers in new ways are here forever. People will remember how brands, governments, and employers behaved in the face of crisis. Companies and governments will be judged by what actions they took during the pandemic. And there will be positive emotional connections with those who were considerate, helpful, and socially responsible. Doing the right thing or the wrong thing has the potential to strengthen or tarnish trust among all stakeholders. Humility, empathy, humanity, and the impact on society will be essential. Based on my discussions with communications and PR professionals, business leaders, and based on different articles and special reports related to COVID-19, I've prepared a summary of challenges and opportunities in the context of communication during these uncertain times. So let's start with positive things. Opportunities. Organizations are rightfully expanding the role of communications. Effective and engaging communications will continue to be a high priority to help drive adoption of these changes. The role of the communication professional has been elevated, as communications leaders have become critical advisors to company CEOs and seen as essential influencers of business outcomes. We'll see communicators as the key players in helping businesses and communities to manage from this situation in the long term. That means communications has become central to influencing the behavioral changes needed to get society through this. According to the special report of Edelman Trust Barometer, maintaining trust during the coronavirus crisis is essential to communicate trustworthy information daily. The current situation is likely to be a really defining time for employee engagement and how employees view their current employer. As the Edelman Trust Barometer shows, employer communication is number one for people in organizations. After the health authorities, employers are identified as the most trusted to respond effectively and believed most readily. Employees want clarity on everything, from how many colleagues have contracted the virus to how the virus is affecting the organization's ability to operate. Employees want to be informed about the effect on the company, including advice on travel and what can be done to stop the spread of the virus. They want to get information via email or newsletters, posts on the company website, phone or video conferences. So let's look at the slide. Perhaps one of the most positive things that will come from the global pandemic when it comes to how businesses function is an increased understanding of the value of employee communications. In the situation we face, there is perhaps nothing more important than the way a leader communicates. This is a brilliant test of leadership. Employees look to leaders to lead, not to manage. The opportunity to remain relevant and to demonstrate care and leadership is to strengthen communications to all stakeholders, as all need evidence of strong leadership to build trust. The Edelman Trust Barometer tells us that the CEO of an organization for employees is the most trusted spokesperson after scientists, health officials, and doctors. Is it therefore critical for leaders to be both chief executive officers and chief empathy officers? It's also a great opportunity for reflection about the culture and what employees need for the future. Who are we as a community of employees? What is the technology we need to ensure we enhance the employee experience? What lessons we have learned from the situation? The situation presents an opportunity to experiment, try new tools and technologies, and keep what works and leave what does not. Many organizations become more creative or technologically proficient with their response to employee engagement, using different and creative tools to engage with staff in a more human way. For example, in pandemic situation, ERGO insurance company in Lithuania has created a special radio program for its employees. People got not only news on the situation or a piece of advice from a psychologist, but they have been deeply involved in creation of this radio program. They took part in interviews, shared their insights, or ordered the music in radio. This is an opportunity for companies to step up and show leadership and commitment to not only stakeholders, but to communities as well. Communications now should be viewed as an investment in the future, as people will never forget an act of kindness that puts people ahead of profits. Digital transformation can be a slow and painful process with many barriers and stakeholders involved in the process. Companies have found themselves quickly adapting to the world of remote work, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Now is the rush to get the right tools in place as quickly as possible. Data and analytics will continue to be crucial because they allow us as communications professionals in real time to listen and respond to stakeholders' conversations. This could be an extraordinary moment to reset. We have 4 generations in the workplace with varied expectations, rapid advancement in technology, and increasing number of workers. This is the moment to adapt policies for well-being, remote engagement, and working patterns. This means we need to give greater importance on multi-channel communication, segmentation of audiences, and take a more personalized approach towards our stakeholders. Media coverage of COVID-19 is substantial. As communications and PR professionals, we must consider the lack of availability of media to cover our story. It's an opportunity to position ourselves in relation to the virus in our communications by explaining the impact it has on our business and the measures we have implemented for our employees. As we know, every organization has to have a plan for crisis management, and the tools need to be communicated effectively to all audiences. The situation we face today proves once again that this is a must. If there are still some organizations which don't have a crisis management or communication plan, here is a clear message: stop everything and work on it now. Challenges. The spread of coronavirus presents huge challenges for communications leaders, especially for those leading the function for global companies and employees around the world. Now organizations are finding themselves communicating in real time as their business changes and adapts on a near daily basis. Companies have quickly realized the challenge of keeping everyone connected, maintaining their culture and staff well-being, and trying to make these difficult times as manageable as possible is really a big challenge for communications professionals as well. Employees are getting pandemic-related information and updates from social media, often at the same time as employers. It means that companies are forced to react to new information and make decisions in real time while attempting to manage misinformation and rumors. One of the biggest challenges for companies is having to communicate and keep people updated at a time when the company itself doesn't have all the answers. In such situation, transparency is the best approach. Fatigue of the news on social media and other channels, emotional stress, physical distancing, working remotely, All this makes challenging for us as human beings. We must continue to evolve our employer communications to fit the mood or the needs of our people. Inspiration during these difficult times is essential as it relates to our organization staff. The use of analytics and other technologies will enable PR and communications to move faster at scale. Companies have had to make incredibly difficult decisions and quickly implement changes to guidelines, policies, and ways of working while attempting to continue business operations. Organizations are challenged to keep the speed with the changing information, decide how to respond appropriately, and ensure employees are kept timely informed. Once the response to the pandemic has been delivered, further action will be dedicated to responding to economic recovery. This will create a challenging task to manage the situation when it comes to communications. Whilst businesses will be looking to stay relevant, economic difficulties will limit their own capacity to communicate. Every communication activity is going to have to go through a new type to ensure that it's progressive, meets the social sensibility, and can resist in the face of the pressure. It will be crucial to establish a meaningful connection with audiences over shared values than to focus on the benefits of a product or service. People are changing their habits, including where they get their news and information. So brands will have to evaluate where they can reach their audiences. The communication challenges are huge not only because there is no recovery in sight, but because we don't even know where the bottom is yet. Convincing communications requires a fixed target. It is very difficult to make definitive statements right now. As I said before, people and companies will be judged by what actions they took during the pandemic. Their credibility and acting in a more proactive way will be reflections of these actions. As communications professionals, we have the ability to connect our stakeholders and re-emerge even stronger in the long term. It will be critical for us to apply key learnings from the crisis with every move, acting authentically, listening to our stakeholders, adding value, and so more. Communicating appropriately will be more important than ever. Community relations, CSR, purpose, and everything in between will remain critical for companies. We are all having to be adaptable, flexible, innovative, agile, be relevant to our stakeholders, both internal and external, in different and meaningful ways. As Charles Darwin said, it's not the strongest or most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. And so it will be for our communication and PR profession. So let the challenges do not weaken us, but on the contrary, let them provide an opportunity to improve our communication performance and to create a remarkable value for our stakeholders and community.